So it looks a little different than my studio because I'm actually at Sweetwater this week, and I've been working with my friends from Martin Guitar. And occasionally what happens is you run into another one of your friends, fellow YouTuber, guitar player, killer producer, engineer with a great channel that you got to check out, Colt Capperune.
Thank you, man.
And he was so kind to say, let's set up and do a video for your channel, and we're going to share the love a little bit, and we're going to talk about some of our top accessories. I mean, Sweetwater has a lot of gear, but we're focusing on the stuff we always need, like picks, capos, headstock tuners. He's got a couple other tricks up his sleeve there, and we're going to talk about each and every one of those and get our personal opinions on what we should have in the studio aside from guitars and other cool stuff.
Yeah. Let's go.
Let's do it.
All right,
so before we jump into the accessories, we should talk a little bit about these guitars. I know y'all are going to ask. He just made a killer video that I'm going to link to about 3 different Gibson guitars that he went through, and he finally landed on this guy, which is a big rosewood. Is this the Songwriter model?
this is the Songwriter standard with the rosewood.
Looks like it's got an LR Baggs pickup in it, and I had to say, point it that way because it's so loud. And I'm playing a killer modern Deluxe Martin. This is a 000 18, and
Sounds so good.
it's really a wild comparison.
Yeah.
Rosewood and spruce, is going to be nice and big and boomy, and then this is going to be more of, sort of a balanced tone, great for a lot of things. And what's your go-to when you go in the studio? I mean, one acoustic, different acoustics, like what's your path?
Well, it really depends, I think, on the kind of music that you're working on. And for me personally, as a producer and as a guitar player and as a mix engineer, I'm usually working on stuff that's a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more dense. And so for me, it's usually about picking what will poke through a dense mix.
Sure.
And also not step on the vocal. I'm really conscious of always trying to dial tones, acoustic or electric, around the vocal.
Yep.
And dialing them custom for each song independently.
I mean, I've heard of producers that start with the vocal mix first and then build around it. Is that something you like to do?
When I'm mixing, it's kick drum, snare drum, overheads, bass guitar, vocal.
Boom. Love it.
And once the vocal's done, then I can push everything else around it.
So we're 2 acoustic guitar players, and we don't want to step on each other. And the best tool for that, by far, is a capo. So you got to choose one that really works and is a good tool, but you also have to have your transposition skills up to snuff so you know what the heck you're playing when you do capo it.
100%.
So I'm going to use this Dadddario capo. It's got a nice sort of human feel to it, and you can adjust it with the spring here. And the cool thing is I like these for stage because I can throw them on real quick. Now, I have a handful of capos at home, but these are the kind I go to most often. And what did you snag out of the store? We went on a shopping spree, and we grabbed a bunch of stuff.
What a good place to go on a shopping spree. I'm into the Shubb Capos. I like how they're super tight and controlled. You can control the tension really good on them. I also like how they really seem to put equal tension between the high E and the low E. There's a lot of capos that do these same things, but that's kind of what I'm looking for.
Yeah, there's a lot of personal preference with this stuff. That's why I want to show you a handful of things. We'll put links to all of these below in the description as well, so you can really check them out.
Smash like.
Boom. And I'm learning from this guy. He's a master. So what we're going to do is we're going to play that same A minor F G kind of riff, and I'm going to capo up on the 5th fret. And one thing that I want to do is something I learned from a lesser-known guitar player named Tommy Emmanuel.
Nobody knows who he is.
He said push down on the strings to kind of seat it in there.
Yeah.
Now, normally I would retune, but we're just going to let it rip today. So he's going to...
That's an important note. You should always tune after placing the capo.
Yeah, for sure.
Always. Sorry.
Glad I had the producer keep me in check on that. Okay. So we're going to play... He's going to play A minor, F, G. I'm going to play up here almost like in an E minor position, so my chords will be still the same chords, but they'll look like E minor, C, and D, and we're going to create a little mini guitar orchestra. Right? A 1, 2, 3, 4. I can solo out of my open E minor. In tune.
That's pretty
That was
awesome.
pretty great.
That's
yeah,
pretty good.
man. And I've been here working with Martin talking about guitars, and it's the first time I've gotten to jam. So that's pretty fun.
That's awesome.
So capos are really super important, but we got some other things to talk about too.
Yes.
Yeah, we're going to talk about picks and tuners. Let's
Yes.
talk about some picks. So,
So
talk to me about picks. You're a
Okay.
guitar player and a damn fine one in your own right,
well, thank
and you use a variety of picks in the studio.
I do.
And you chose a pick that a lot of us were like, "Who uses these picks?" And he's like, "I do." Talk to me about which ones you chose.
So which ones are? I don't even know. I have to look at them. Are these are the 50 millimeter Dunlop Tortex, the red ones. And yeah,
Super
a lot
flimsy.
of super flimsy, and a lot of people. I don't know if they're too tough. They're not in touch with their feminine side. These are really thin and they're super flexible, and the reason for that is because I want all the strings to ring equally when I'm strumming.
Right.
When I want to hear all of them equally. And sometimes, if you're not that accomplished of a guitar player like myself, and you're using too thick of a pick, you don't hear them as evenly because the pick is keeping you from doing that. And then also, there's you can dig in harder with thicker picks, or picks that are really thick with round edges. It gets warmer and fatter sounding and less jangly.
Right.
So choosing to pick based on what you're trying to accomplish for the sound and for your playing style, that's something that's super important.
Yes, so you're using these super light ones. That's great. I mean, they're super flimsy.
If I'm strumming an acoustic guitar in the studio, this is the move.
And it feels like, if I'm playing something like... I call it like a piano player going ding, 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 where they're like playing super even. That's what this helps us do.
100%.
And I brought with me, when I do these Martin events, I always bring a V-pick or something like that that's really stiff. You can't even bend this thing. It's well over 1. And I do that because I want the volume to come out of the guitar as much as possible with less effort as possible. So I'm picking that very lightly. And if I want to play a...
Absolutely.
It's real nice and even. But another pick I like is these Dunlop picks with the nylon.
That's the Keith Urban pick.
Is it really?
He flips that around, and that's
That's what I do.
scrapey same
That's
thing.
what I do.
That's the Keith Urban
And I learned
thing.
that from the Edge. So the Edge, when he would go...
Keith Urban probably learned it from the Edge, too. Yeah.
And it
Hear
has
that
that
scrape?
I like that.
Yeah.
So it's... Because it's got this ridge for your fingers, and I flip it around.
It literally has
And
a
also,
scrape.
if I want to do a Tom Morello, wiki, wiki, wiki kind of thing, I can do that. But I like the way it sounds, too. So it's got a little more stiffness to it than the 0.5.
Now, do you, in the studio, use different thickness of picks for lead as you do for rhythm?
Not so much.
Okay.
I'll stick to this one lately.
Okay, yep.
But there are times when I'll go to an extra heavy
Real
or
thick.
yeah.
So when I'm playing lead electric guitar, especially in the studio, my go-to is the thickest pick, or the thinnest pick possible that I can't bend.
Okay.
And the reason
like
for
this.
that is because when I put pressure on the strings, the
Okay.
pick bends, right? It
Right.
flexes. But when you're picking fast, you're dealing with the delay of the pick coming back to zero.
That's right.
And so I can play faster, not that that should always be someone's goal, but I can play faster with the pick that won't bend, but if it's too thick, it takes too much time to cross the string.
Yeah. And it's funny you
Super
say
nerdy.
that. When I
Super
was,
nerdy.
I love that because I used to do heavy picks all the time. I went to a lighter pick because I was doing some kind of like, I can't do any Van Halen stuff, but I was trying and I was playing some stuff and I was noticing all that.
Right.
And it was because he used a light pick.
Yep.
And I was like, oh. And then even like some of the funkier rhythm stuff, I can feel that pick going whoop and bending against my finger.
Yep.
And the groove is better.
Yes.
And I think that's just awesome.
Yeah, so picking the thickness of your pick for the groove is wonderful.
Yeah.
Like, that's a great tip.
I thought I was crazy that was happening. All of a sudden, I sounded funkier with a lighter, and I was like, "I'll take it." All right. So, but we have to keep our guitars in tune, and when we're playing acoustic guitars, there's an easy way to do that with a variety of tuners. Let's talk about those.
Let's go.
All right, so we got to keep these guitars in tune, and we got to do that when we put our capo on, and we're digging in, and we're doing take after take. And an easy way to do that now is the headstock tuner.
Absolutely.
And like capos, I've tried a bunch of different ones too.
Yep.
What I grabbed from the shop was the TC Poltytune, and don't want to break it. I like it just because I'm blind and I need that bright readout.
It's bright.
And I like it, and I have some experience with that. And I like that the clip is kind of like an old school like office clip.
Yeah, it is.
So that works for me, and it's pretty nice. You know, I've had a lot of luck with those.
Nice.
Another one that I really dig. This isn't a headstock. This is a Dadddario tuner, and I use this even in the studio. It's very accurate, and it hooks into. If I can do this without dropping in the hole, I'm gonna be so happy. Boom.
Yeah.
It connects right there. You turn it on. You probably won't be able to see it. Oh, this is even better than the one I have. And it lights up in the sound hole, totally discreet, and it's always in there. So take it out if you're traveling with your guitar. Other than that, it's a pretty cool little tuner.
Pro tip:
What did
take
you
it
bring?
out.
What did you snag from the shop?
I'm into these Peterson Strobe. Which one is this? The Stroboclip HD. Peterson is their whole thing is like super refined tuners,
Absolutely.
highly accurate tuners. And so funny story. Once I did a whole project, a whole album for a hard rock band. And at the end of it, I was mixing, and I don't know how this happened, but at the end of it, I was mixing, and I'm like, something's not in tune, and I cannot figure out what it is. And it took me, many hours. It took me to figure out that the bass guitar was like 15 cents flat on the whole album, and it was because he was using a different tuner than the guitar player.
I was going to ask you if you ask the players to share the same tuner.
Not only share, they use my tuner.
Yeah, so you know.
Yeah, so I know. At least that's the goal.
Wow.
Some people, as long as they're cool with that. But yeah, so tuners can be calibrated differently, and also most tuners can be calibrated by the user.
Right.
And so someone could have accidentally calibrated their tuner wrong, or changed it to 432
That
or
is
something.
the trick with some of these is if you get fat fingered, you can knock it down to like up to 441 or something like that.
So pro tip: in the studio, everyone use the same tuner.
So I was working in the studio once, and I was assistant engineer way back when, and this band came in, and the engineer goes, "All right, guys, you think you want to get tuned up so we can try one here?" And they go, "We tuned it at rehearsal, we're good." If I'm not making it up, I swear. So the importance
Some
of
people's kids.
Yeah, right. The quality tuner.
Yeah, quality
The headstock tuners have come such a long way that
Yes,
they're
they
pretty
have.
darn accurate.
Yep.
And that's my first experience with the Peterson. It's really, really nice. I tried that one too.
It seems the most accurate. It's not the most intuitive to read.
Right. It takes a minute.
It takes a minute to figure it out, but I think it's the most accurate.
Now, would you agree a great way I learned about hearing guitars in tune by recording myself? Once you put a couple of them in your recording software and you listen to them, they should lock. They should get pretty. Now, if you're Keith Richards and it's the Stones, and it's out of tune, that's a thing. Yeah. But we live in a different time now, and we can make the guitars really live together in the mix by doing that.
I think that also is somewhat genre dependent. If you're trying to do a heavy metal periphery kind of thing, you want them almost mechanically locked.
Right.
And if you're doing a Kings of Leon kind of thing, not so much.
Right. A producer friend of mine calls it the Matrix. Once you hear guitars out of tune, you can't unhear it out of tune.
100%.
You dropping tuners back there?
My phone just fell out of my back pocket.
Which also has a decent tuner probably in it.
Yes,
as well.
it does.
We're going to do a little bit of an honorable mention accessory, and then we're going to let Colt get out of here, and I'm going to go back to my duties at Martin. So we got another little segment here. Check it out. So Colt reminded me that using fast fret in the studio is actually a pretty great tool, and I forgot one time I was in a session once and my fingers were squeaking really bad on the strings, and I took some of this and I rubbed it on my fingers, and it went away and it was perfect. So I was like, yeah, we got to throw that in as an honorable mention.
Yeah.
I don't think you have to use it all the time or use it as an aid to play. It's more of like keeping that sound mellow.
Absolutely, yeah. Finger scratching, or like, if you've been in the studio for a long time, you're an acidic person and your strings are starting to gunk up, that can help with that. Just make things smoother and quieter sounding. So
yeah, some of us have that like thing where we make strings die sooner than others.
100%.
It's like a pH thing.
I'm a very acidic person. I kill strings.
Oh man, I can
fast.
have a set of strings go for a long time.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm jealous.
Sometimes I'm not cold and clammy. I'm dead and dry. But what do you got? Do you have something you're gonna school me on too? I don't know much about these things.
Okay, so one of the things that I do with a lot of guitar players that I'm recording, this is a Gruv Gear FretWrap, and basically what it does is you wrap it around the guitar. Let me just put it on here, and it will deaden all the strings that you don't intend to play. And so, especially it's really helpful for people that are playing lead stuff that can't keep the rest of the strings quiet.
Right.
I mean, I certainly have struggled with that many times. And it really just can help deaden the things that you don't want to happen. And, you can take this stuff a step further. There's other products that go behind the nut.
Those are the ones I've seen.
To keep that from happening.
Yeah.
And then, if you're playing electric guitar with any sort of tremolo that's got springs in the back, I'll take some foam and stuff it in there behind the springs, because if you're doing like high gain stuff, you can and like you hear those springs vibrate. So whatever amount of deadening is appropriate for the song, the genre, the guitar player, that's something that I pay a lot of attention to.
Yeah, they've come a long way with like thinking of every little thing. I mean, if there's an issue, some company out there is creating a product for it. Yeah, for sure.
There is.
Dude, we've covered a really cool amount of stuff, and this was totally impromptu. We just knew that we were coming here, and he was like, let's throw the camera up and do this. So so thank you so much for allowing that to happen. And we have to talk about the most important accessory here at Sweetwater, the candy.
The candy.
Yeah. Quick story.
Yeah.
Sometimes I hear these inside meetings that they do here about all the secret important stuff, and they said, the candy's really important because a customer one time got a box, and the guy was going into shock, diabetic shock, and his wife gave him a candy and saved his life. I'm telling you, this is what I heard. So anyway, this is the best accessory.
Sweetwater doing humanity a service.
With a bit of honey.
With a bit of honey and a pack of Smarties. Thanks for having me, man.
Dude, thank you. That was so much fun. I appreciate it. This is what happens when you come to Sweetwater. You never know what's going to happen. I'm going to put links below to all of the stuff we checked out. He did a couple great videos while he was here, specifically this one on his Gibson guitars that he was choosing. And you're going to get to check all that stuff out because he has a killer channel. You're going to learn a bunch of stuff.
Thank you.
And if you have any questions about recording or production that I can't answer, go see this guy. All right, I'll be back with another video on the channel. I'll see you guys. Thanks so much for the support. Hit the thumbs up, subscribe, and we'll see you.
Later.